Today we are going to be defining phonological and phonemic awareness, understanding the relationship between phonological awareness and phonemic awareness, differentiate between phonemic awareness and phonics, because phonics is something totally different. And I'm going to give you some easy clues as to determine what is phonological awareness and what is phonics. So here's the spectrum once more that I will continue to refer back to. Right now we are living within this world. So this age range right here is between 3 years old and when they go into kindergarten. We'll be talking about concepts of print in the next section. So let's jump in to define what phonological awareness is. Well, phonological awareness is the ability to recognize and work with sounds in spoken language. And I super highlight the word sounds because phonological awareness and then later phonemic awareness has only to do with sound. So let's think about mentally and developmentally where children are between the years of 3 and 5. There are some children that can identify letters when they walk into a kindergarten class, but the reality is that they have lived the first few years of their life in a world of sounds. They learned how to speak through sound and mimic. They hear sounds, and the language that they have is all spoken. Our job as educators is now to help them refine those sounds and identify individual sounds, the beginning, the end, and any patterns that they see. So one good way that I remember phonological awareness and phonemic awareness to be only by sound is through this ancient telephone. So believe it or not, I am old enough to have used a telephone like this. My grandmother had a telephone like this, but I'm also from a time where we used telephones just to talk. No, none of this texting. And the only thing that came through the telephone was sound. So if you look at the word phonological awareness and later phonemic awareness, you have the prefix phono, which means sound, which means phone. It's only sound. Phono is phone, and we only deal with sound. As I go through this presentation, you're going to notice that I'm barely going to use any type of letters because I want you to really understand that whenever on the test you see that they're trying to define phonological awareness or one of the areas of phonological awareness or one of the activities of phonological awareness, it has to just do with sound. This is the phonological awareness continuum, and it's super, super, super important. And so I'm going to explain a little bit about the structure and how you would read this continuum. Well, at the very top, you have rhyme. And RHYME rhyme is the rhythmic repetition of the end sound. Cat, hat, bat, sat, mat. All of those words rhyme. It's a little different than another word which is also pronounced rhyme with similar definitions. And we'll look at that later on. Then it goes to alliterations, sentence segmentation, syllables, onset and rhymes, and then phonemic awareness. You want to think about this as the easiest skill to teach a child down to the most complicated skills. So I'm going to break down each one of these skills. As I break them down, you're going to notice that numbers will appear on the side. For example, rhyme will have the number 1. And so this is what I call levels. And it's very useful for you to pay attention to the levels, to the numbering, because this is going to help when you're answering questions on the test on how to break them apart. It's going to be so much easier, and you're going to see it in action. All right, so we have rhyme. Rhyme is that rhythmic repetition of the ending sound. Here we have an example, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be pretending I'm talking to my little friend, and my little friend is going to answer back to me so that you have an example of an activity that you can do with the kids, or even just visualize it in your mind and how this would work. So you have a child coming into your kindergarten class, maybe preschool class, and we're learning about rhyme. This is really popular. The Dr. Seuss books rhyme, nursery rhymes that you would tell children or read to them rhyme, because it helps them really focus on the story and memorize these simple words or the sounds of these simple words. Okay. So you have a friend in front of you, and then we start. Hi, friend. We're going to do an activity today. I'm going to say 4 words to you, and I'm going to show you the picture. I want you to find out what sounds the same. Bat, cat, hat, mat. What sounds the same? And so after a few lessons, you introduce what it is the ending sounds. They all rhyme, and they should know that cat, hat, bat, and mat all rhyme. That is the simplest skill within phonological awareness, rhyming words. Then we have the second skill, and this is alliteration. And alliteration is the repetition of that initial sound. Again, I'm going to show you an activity that you can do with a child to cement this skill into their development of reading. Hi, friend. I'm going to show you some pictures and say some words. I want you to tell me what is the same about these words. Toy, tin, table. I'm going to say it again. You are focusing on what is the same about these words. Toy, tin, table. What sound do they all have alike? Well, miss, they all begin with the sound T. Great. They do begin with the sound T. Notice that I did not use any letter to cement that sound, right? There's no T anywhere here, but we're always talking about the beginning, the sound, and the sound is T. In rhyme, you're dealing with the repetition of the end sounds. In alliteration, you're following that similarity in the initial sound. So we have level 1 and level 2. As we go through the levels, it gets a tiny bit harder. Rhyming is easier than alliterations because in rhyming, there are songs. The TV usually has these songs geared to small children, preschool children that rhyme. Alliterations is now, there's something that's the same, maybe not at the end, but now at the beginning. Let's move on to level 3. And level 3 is sentence segmentation. And so now we are going from this entire nursery rhyme, or maybe a tongue twister, which is alliterations, into now taking one sentence and having the child identify how many word sounds are in that sentence. This is significantly harder than the other two because now the child has to refine their listening skills and determine where the word begins and ends. And so the sentence I'm going to use here is a perfect example because it starts with very simple words, but at the end there is a word that is a little bit more complicated and can trick our friends. Here we go. I'm going to say a sentence. I want you to tell me how many words do you hear in this sentence. So you go ahead and say the sentence, the dog ran away. I'm going to say it again. I want you to count on your fingers or clap. How many words do you hear in this sentence? The dog ran away. Great, friend. There are 4 words in this one sentence. Now, the word away at the end can be a little tricky because a child still doesn't understand that away is one word and it sounds like 2 words, right? And this is just like the order of higher level thinking. How are you going to explain to that child that the word away is one word? Another activity you can do with the child, especially if they can't really count with their fingers yet, they don't have the gross motor skills or the fine motor skills to put up 4 fingers, they can clap. The dog ran away. 4 claps. So we went from rhyme, end sound that repeats, alliteration, beginning sound that repeats, sentence segmentation, how many words in a sentence, and now we're going to the next level of complexity, which is syllables, identifying the syllables. So this is where I could pick one word from that sentence and break it down. So I'm going to go ahead and use the word away. And the reason why I'm using the word away is because the word away has more syllable sounds than the words the dog ran. So here we go. I'm going to read a word to you. I want you to tell me how many groups of sound do you hear in this one word? And so this is significantly more difficult. This is significantly more difficult than sentence, because now I'm taking one word and determining where it begins and it ends, where there's a pause in between that symbolizes a syllable. The word is away. Way. Great, friend. There are 2 syllables. Again, you can use that clapping technique. I know they used that with me in school as I was growing up. Away. Away. Great. 2 syllables. Let's try a more complicated word. So I'm going to go ahead, show a little picture of an elephant, talk about the color of the elephant, and say, great, friends, I'm going to say the word elephant. Let's see how many group of sounds you hear in this one word. Remember, the child needs to identify when it starts and when it ends, and when there's a pause that symbolizes a new syllable. Fent. With the claps, fent. Great, friends, there are 3 syllables. So we went rhyme, and rhyme is the rhythmic repetition of the end sound, alliteration, the repetition of the beginning sound, sentence segmentation, how many words in a sentence, syllables, how many groups of sound in one word. And now we go to 5, which is onset and rhyme. And notice here we have the word R-I-M-E-S compared to R-H-Y-M-E. R-H-Y-M-E is the rhythmic repetition within a set of words. Onset and rhyme here just means that end portion. So that end portion in the spoken language. Sometimes it could be blended. Sometimes it could be an individual sound. So onset is the beginning portion and rhyme is the end portion. And this is when we start looking at a word and break it down even more. Because syllables, you can break them down into 3, 4, whatever, how many syllables there are, chunks. But now you're asking a child to identify the beginning, which is the onset, and the last, which is the rhyme. So a little caveat here, whenever we see letters inside these backslashes, that means sound. So for example, if we're talking about away, it would be way. Sometimes you will notice that the spelling of the word the actual spelling of the word is not the phonemic spelling of the word. This word happens to line up, but we have words like elephant, which would be written differently. An elephant would be L fent. This is the phonemic spelling of elephant. All right. So in onset and rhyme, we're going to use away one more time. So in the word away, you ask the child, what is the beginning sound and the end sound in this word? Ready? Away. And blending, maybe level number 4, you can have the child clap. Away. Well, it starts with and the last sound is way. Great. Away. Onset and rhyme. Now it's a little harder, friends. I'm going to try to trick you. I'm going to give you a word. I want you to find the beginning sound and the end sound. Great. The word is elephant. Let's break it down by syllables. Let's use our hand. Elephant. Remember, friend, I'm looking for the beginning sound and the end sound. Elephant. Is the beginning sound. A teacher would identify as the onset. Elephant. The fent is the end sound. That's the last sound. A teacher would identify it as the rhyme. So let's quickly review, because I'm going to continue to do this. This is going to help it really dig in. The very first stage is rhyme, that rhythmic repetition of the end sound. Cat, hat, bat, mat, lat, bat, pat. Alliteration is the repetition of that initial sound. 10 tiny tadpoles tiptoed today to the table. Number 3 is sentence segmentation. So you are taking a sentence and how many individual sounds are in this sentence. The dog ran away. There are 4 words in that one sentence. Now we have a syllable, the syllables of one word. Away, that's 2 syllables. Elephant, that's 3 syllables. And remember, there are no letters, there's no spelling in this world. I cannot expect a 3, 4, 5-year-old to spell the word elephant, but I can expect for that child to say the word back to me and start to hear the beginning and end of those syllables. Elephant. Level number 5 is the onset and rhyme. In the word elephant, it is significantly harder because essentially that child had to know to eliminate that middle sound. L being the onset, fent being the rhyme. And now we jump into what phonemic awareness is. And so once a kid has really mastered 1 through 5, they are almost ready to learn letters. But first, we need to learn how to manipulate individual sounds. Within the manipulation of individual sounds, we have isolation, segmentation, blending, substitution, and deletion. Once more, the very first one is the simplest form of phonemic awareness, and the 5th is the most complicated. So we're going to go ahead and go to the next slide and see this in action. So phonemic awareness, just to define it, is the ability to detect, identify, and manipulate sounds in a word. I will not say it enough when I tell you we're only talking about sounds. And so those little individual sounds are known as phonemes. Inside of this world of phonemic awareness, there are certain skills a child must be able to master to move past this just sounds phase. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write out the phonemic spelling or the phonemic pronunciation of the word cat. So phonologically, cat is spelled like this. K-A-T. And this has 3 phonemes. K-A-T. Those are 3 individual sounds within this one word. So 3 phonemes. Within phonemic awareness, a child first should be able to isolate these sounds. So one activity that I do see happen at my school a lot, especially in kindergarten, a little bit in first grade, is the tap out, right? You have the child completely extend their arm, palms up. You start up at the shoulder, and every single phoneme or every single sound gets a section on the arm. So starting up on the shoulder, you have k. Inside the elbow, ah. On the wrist, t. K, at. And children are to tap it out as they isolate the sounds. K, at. K, at. So that's the isolation of individual phonemes. The next step, and again, they get a little bit more harder, and it's really important to learn these orders. So first isolation, now segmentation. And this is where we go into asking in this word, what is the first sound? K. What is the middle sound? Ah. What is the end sound? T. So segmentation can sometimes be confused with onset and rhyme. Because in onset and rhyme, you're looking for that beginning sound and that end sound. But in segmentation, you're also asking for middle sounds. So sometimes you can have a word that has more than the 3 sounds, right? The 3 phonemes in there. And you can say, well, identify the second sound, identify the third sound. This is called segmentation. So first they need to know how to isolate it, k, at. Then they need to know how to segment, which is what's the beginning, what's the end, what's the middle. K, beginning, middle, t, end. And now they have to blend it. And again, using that same example, and I hope you guys can visualize that, you have the child extend their arm, palms up, starting at the shoulder, k, at. And then you take your other hand, and instead of tapping, you are blending. You take your hands and run it down the arm. K, at. Cat. Let's do that one more time, friends. Tap it out and then blend. K, at. Cat. Great. K, at is cat. And now the child is making a connection of these individual sounds with the word that they recognize. I was a little surprised to know that blending is harder than segmentation, but I can see the logic in it, because in blending, the child now has to say all the sounds together, and sometimes it could be a little tricky, so it doesn't sound cat. No, cat, one fluid sound. Then we're going to get into substitution and deletion. And even within deletion, there could be like adding another one. But we're going to stick with it with substitution. So substitution is when you are now asking the child to replace one of these sounds with another sound. So I'm going to go ahead and run it from the very beginning, right? Isolation. K, at. Great, and that's when the child is tapping. K, at. What is the beginning sound? K. What is the middle sound? Ah. What is the end sound? T. Now let's put it together. Tap it out. K, at. Cat. Oh, it's cat. Great. Now I have a special job for you. Can you change the beginning sound from k to b? Remember, just the beginning sound from k to b. So you start the child first doing that isolation and segmentation skill with the tap out. K, at. K, at. Okay, I have to change the k to a b, at. Now blend it, bat. Oh, miss, I said bat. Great. So now we know how to say the word cat and how to say the word bat. And you could even say it. What do they have the same? Cat, bat. Miss, they rhyme. See how all these connect to each other? And you could always go back up the levels to make sure that they have mastered that. The last and most difficult skill is deletion. And deletion is when you are taking away some part of the word. There's also adding phonemes, but we're not going to focus too much on the adding phonemes. We're going to focus more on the deletion of phonemes. So here we go. Okay, friends, that was great. You said cat, and you made it sound like bat. What will happen if we completely take away the k and the b? Make it disappear. Great. Let's start with our tap out. Do you want to do k at or b at? Well, I want to do b at, bat. Great. Let's tap out bat. Remember, you are eliminating that beginning sound. Getting rid of it. Make it erase. Tap it out. B at. B at. Take it away. At. Yes. So now you were able to start with k at cat. You made it into b at bat. And now you're at. Great. Good job. So a friend that can do all these parts within phonemic awareness will now be ready to transition into letters. Remember, they need to first identify and manipulate sounds before you can associate a letter with that sound. A child that receives phonemic awareness instruction, this will help them learn how to read. Like, this is the base of chunking, of segmentating, of decoding. Yes, there are no letters, but those sounds become very familiar, and they can recall the sounds when they're learning the actual letter that it corresponds to. And then phonemic awareness instruction helps children learn to spell. Again, the whole chunking and the listening to the sounds that the letter makes when you go into phonics. So before I jump into the questions, I want to go ahead and revisit the spectrum, right? So this is the whole entire continuum of phonological awareness. At the very first stage, you have rhyme, that rhythmic repetition of the end sound, cat, hat, bat, mat, tat. And then you have alliteration, 10 tiny tadpoles, 10 tiny two. That beginning sound is repeated and they share. Number 3, sentence segmentation. How many words in the sentence? The dog ran away. There are 4 words, and then you take one word in level 4 and you break that apart. Away. Elephant. And now that you know how to break down one word, we are going to identify just the beginning and the end, the onset and rhyme. L is the beginning, fent is the end. We're not asking for anything in the middle yet, because at the very and most highest stage, you have phonemic awareness. And this is where they're going to isolate, meaning k, at. Then they are going to segmentate it. This is where you can ask them beginning, middle, and end. Then you're going to blend it, k, at, cat. And now we're going to substitute a letter. K, at becomes b, at. And then we're going to take away, not a letter, a sound. Sorry. We're going to now add the substitution of a sound. And now we're going to delete a sound. Okay, so now let's jump into answering some questions and using these skills that we learned and this continuum. So the very first thing I do when I am going to start this, and you will see that the first few questions, about the first 10 to 11 questions on your test, will be all on phonological and phonemic awareness. I pretty much guarantee you that. I haven't seen them divert from the formula yet. The way that I determined how to do the objectives was based on this, all material from the practice tests. If you don't understand what I'm referring to, go back to the home page, understand your score, and you can see how they break down the score and break down the subsections. All right, so here I have number 1, and before I read it, I can already see that we have the word phonological awareness and phonemic awareness. So in my brain, I'm going to recall the levels. So at level 1, we have rhyme. At level 2, we have alliterations. At level 3, we have sentence segmentation. Level 4, we have syllables. Level 5, we have onset and rhyme. And then there's the jump to 6, which is phonemic awareness. Okay? And then inside phonemic awareness, we have isolation, segmentation, I always forget. Isolating the sound, segmenting the sound, blending the sound, then substituting the sound, and then deleting the sound. And so this is extremely helpful to have on the side of your scrap paper, because you're going to see how I'm going to break these multiple choice apart by putting the levels on the side. So here we go. Let's evaluate each choice. Let's read it first. Which of the following students is demonstrating the specific type of phonological awareness known as phonemic awareness? Great. So we're only going to deal with phonemic awareness. So we're looking for anything that is level 6. A student who, after being shown a letter of the alphabet, and I'm going to stop right there. Because if we're talking about phonological awareness and phonemic awareness, there are no letters, absolutely no whatsoever. But for the purposes of this, I'm going to continue reading it. Can only identify the corresponding sounds. No. This is definitely not it, because you're showing letters. And remember, within this world, there's still no letters. It's just sounds. All right. A student who listens to the word sing, ring, fling, and hang can identify that hang is different. Well, what do you see similar in these words? That end sound and all these rhyme, but this one doesn't rhyme. So great, I'm going to connect that to level 1, which is rhyme. A student who, after hearing the word hat, can orally identify that it ends with the sound t. So, end is also known as rhyme. So this can maybe be 5. But also, this is like a type of segmentation, right? Or isolation. So I'm also going to call this a 6. This could be either a 5 or a 6. I would need more information. And D, a student who listens to the word Massachusetts can determine that it contains 4 syllables. Again, high-level word, I don't expect a young child who is in phonemic awareness, anywhere between 3 and 5, to know how to spell it, but they can identify the syllables. But I know that syllables are level 4. We are actually looking for level 6, so C is our answer. This is a type of phonemic awareness known as isolation. And here it is. Phonemic awareness is the recognition of the spoken words are made up of phonemes, those individual sounds. When you're identifying the final sound, you are demonstrating phonemic awareness, specifically isolation. Let's do another one. For these purposes, I'm going to go ahead and write my little levels here. If you want, you can say them as I say them, so that to see how many of these do you know. So level 1 is rhyme. 2, alliterations. 3, sentence segmentation. 4, syllables. 5, onset and rhyme. And then 6 is phonological awareness. And within phonological awareness, we have isolation, segmentation, blend it, substitute it, and then get rid of it, delete it. All right, let's go in. A kindergarten teacher could best determine if a child has begun to develop phonemic awareness by asking the child to. So again, we are just dealing with level 6 here. Let's see which of these demonstrate which of these demonstrate phonemic awareness at any skill level. Count the number of words the child hears in a sentence as the teacher says the sentence. Well, we know that's a level 3. That's sentence segmentation. Now, say the word cat, then say the first sound the child hears in the word. So this could be onset, the beginning, but it can definitely be within phonemic awareness, isolation of just the beginning sound. Point to the correct letter on the alphabet chart as the teacher makes the specific letter. We know this is nothing. I'm not even going to put a number next to it. I'm just going to cross it out because we're talking about phonemic awareness, and phone, here's the word phone, is sound. Listen to the teacher say boat and coat, then identify whether the two words rhyme. So right here, this was nice and easy. They give you the rhyme. I know rhyme is level 1. So I want phonemic awareness. Here we determine that B can also be 5 or 6, isolation inside. My answer is B. I hope you are seeing how writing this out and knowing these levels facilitates the breaking down of these questions. It just becomes easy, and after you do this a few times and you know this continuum right here, it's easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I actually wrote this on my scrap paper on my whiteboard on the side, just like this. Perfect. Phonemic awareness, a type of phonological awareness, is the recognitions of that sounds are made up of. So the beginning sound is isolation. So this one looks a little different. This right here is from a praxis test for the MTEL. If you reviewed the videos and some of the information on the homepage, the Foundations of Reading in Connecticut and in other states is based on the MTEL's Foundations of Reading. So let's break it down. Same exact thing. The major difference between phonemic and phonological awareness is, well, I know that phonemic awareness is the level 6. And phonological awareness, it's what this whole thing is called. So phonemic awareness falls inside of phonological awareness, right? So let me go back to the continuum. There it is. Phonological awareness is the name of the entire game. All right, so let me go forward. Let me just click through. Okay, here we go. One deals with a series of discrete sounds, okay, and the other, the sound spelling relationship. So right away, spelling has to do with letters. And no, remember, there's nothing to do with letters. We're talking about sounds. So no thank you. One is involved with teaching and learning alliterations and rhymes. Well, alliterations and rhyme, alliteration being level 2, rhyme being level 1, also fall inside of phonological awareness, right? So I'm going to say no to this because this, and this fall all under phonological awareness. Let's look at C. Phonemic awareness is a specific type of phonological awareness that deals with the separate phonemes within a given word. So it is a type of phonological awareness, just like alliteration, just like rhyme. So we're going to magic maybe that. Phonological awareness is associated with printed word. And printed word is just another way of saying letters, and we know there are no letters in phonological and phonemic awareness. So by process of elimination and a magic maybe, the answer is C. So yeah, the answer is C. You're just going to have to memorize that, and the memorization comes from memorizing that continuum. All right, let's go to number 6. Which is of the following first grade students, so this is a student in first grade, it is important to identify the grade so that you know what they're supposed to master, has retained the highest level of phonemic awareness. Great. So I'm not going to go ahead and write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Because we're just dealing with phonemic awareness. If you feel like you need to do that for the practice, go right ahead. Also, this is something that you should have on the side of your paper already, because usually you get scrap paper or you get a whiteboard. Okay. So we're going to jump straight to level 6, and we know this is phonemic awareness. And the levels goes isolation, segmentation, blending, substitute it, take it away, delete it. This is the easiest, this is the hardest. All right, let's see. And we're going to call this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or you can just do the letters, however you wish. I don't like, to tell you the truth, I don't really, okay. All right, let's begin and read. A student who, after hearing the word hot and the sound I can be substituted to make the word hit. So substitution is right here. A student who can orally segment a word wonderful into wonderful. So you are orally segmentating. That is segmentated. You could do SB or SM. A student who, after hearing the word fish and fun, can identify that both begin with the same phoneme. Well, this could be alliteration, and alliteration is level 2, or it could be isolation of the beginning sound. A student who can orally segment the word train into onset and rhyme. So first of all, onset and rhyme is like way off of this, because onset and rhyme is level 5. Onset and rhyme. So I'm going to tell you right now, this does not apply because you're in the world of alliterations. And this doesn't work because you're in the world of onset and rhymes. So we are focusing on A and B. And according to A and B, substitute is a higher level of skill than segmentating. They're both in phonemic awareness, but A is the hardest, that highest level. There we go. Phonemic awareness, the ability to distinguish and manipulate phonemes, is spoken word. Reading research indicates that phonological and phonemic awareness skill development along a continuum from basic to higher level skills, and that the phoneme substitution is more difficult, a higher level skill. The highest level skill would be deletion and adding. So here's the continuum once more, and I'm going to review it once more. I hope this repetition is helping it cement in your brain, and I hope that the way that I broke down each of the question really helps you understand how this works. So at the very top, which is the easiest skill, you have the rhyme. The rhythmic repetition of the end sound. Cat, hat, bat, mat. Alliteration, the repetition of that beginning sound. Tiny Tim Tadpole's table. Then you have sentence segmentation, how many word sounds in one sentence. The dog ran away. There are 4 word sounds. Great. Now syllabification. Take that word away. Let's break it apart. The child has to identify the beginning end of the syllable in that small pause that signifies a syllable. Away. After they have away or elephant, we have onset and rhyme. This is where you're asking the child to find that beginning sound and that end sound. And it's more difficult than syllables because they have to identify that middle sounds don't count when you're asking for beginning and end. Then we're going into phonemic awareness. And phonemic awareness is even more refined because we're going from syllables or portions in the beginning and the end to individual sound. So we go isolation, segmentation, blending, substitution, deletion. So isolation, k, at. Segmentation, k. Initial, a. Middle, t. End. Blend, k, at. Cat. Substitution, k, at. Becomes b, at. Deletion, k, at. Becomes at. This is the entire process of phonological awareness continuum. When a child is able to master these skills, we are ready for the next level, which is phonics instruction. And that is on, I believe, 2 pages from now. Now they're ready for phonics instruction. So once a child is able to master all of these skills, they are now ready to do the next level, which is the introduction of letters to the sound. That's called phonics. See you at phonics.